In this program, we're going to have 5 dice. Each are going to roll randomly and show 1 to 6. And when we click the roll dice button, and we'll display the total points from all those dice. We're essentially doing the same thing for every one of these 5 picture boxes, and we're going to learn how to pass by reference in this program to accomplish this. We've got a random object all set to generate random integers for us. We've got a clear event also. We're going to need some variables, 5 of them for each of the dice for their point values. We'll calculate the total points, and we're going to activate a sub that will pass things by reference. We'll calculate the total points and display them. So first, we'll declare 5 variables, 1 for each die, that will hold as an integer the points 1 through 6. There's all 5 of them. We'll also declare a variable that will hold the total points for all 5 dice added together. So if we roll a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, this variable should equal 15. And we realize that we're going to do the same thing 5 times, so we're going to write a sub and pass the picture boxes by reference, and also we're going to pass these point value variables by reference, so that any changes we make in the sub will also affect the variables from their original place. I'll call this sub roll 1 die, and we're going to pass by ref, not by val this time, by ref. We'll call this PickDie as picture box. It will refer to the same place in memory as the argument that is passed to it. We'll also declare by ref or by reference an integer variable. We'll call it int die value as an integer. This is also passed by ref, which means it's referring to the same places in memory as the argument passed to it. This will make more sense a little later on. In this sub, we'll need to generate a random number from 1 to 6. We'll place that value in int die value. That was a parameter by ref or by reference, so any changes we make to int die value will also affect the variable that was used as an argument back in the sub where we roll the dice. So int die value is going to equal a number from 1 to 6. As you'll see, for instance, when we send int points die 1 as an argument, any changes we make to int die value will also affect int points die 1 back in a different sub, because they're pointing to the same place in memory. That's what we're trying to explain here in the documentation. This will also change the value of any variable that is passed down from BT and roll dice click, because they refer to the same place in memory. Not receiving a copy like you do when you pass by value. Well, we can use this random number from 1 to 6 to assign an appropriate image, and we'll use select case. We'll select on int die value, and then we'll create 6 cases for this. Case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, case 5, and case else, because the only possibility at the end is that the last value is 6. And then in each one of these cases, we're going to use PickDie, which you'll notice is a parameter in the parentheses. Any changes we make to the picture box PickDie will also affect the variables that were sent down as arguments here into this sub. So when we change the image of PickDie to my.resources.dice1green, that means any picture box that got sent down to this sub as an argument will also have its image changed, because they are referring to the same picture box in memory. You'll see, of course, we have 6 different cases for the 6 different possible images to be displayed. And we'll fill these in right now. Could use copy and paste and just make some changes as well. Here's the last one. We'll leave some documentation as we're just getting started with passing by reference or by ref to remind ourselves that any changes we make to the picture box PickDie which was declared as a parameter in the parentheses, will also change any variables that were sent as arguments. And that's why when we make a change here in this sub, it also impacts the picture box somewhere else in a different sub, for us in the roll, dice, click sub. Back in BTN roll, dice, click, we'll activate this sub or call this sub. In fact, we'll call it 5 times, once for each of the dice that we got to take care of. It's expecting a picture box. We'll send it PickDie 1, that was the far left picture box, and we'll also send it int points die 1. That stands for the point value for the first die. We're going to do this for all 5 dice. That way we'll have a different random number possibly each time. And again, we're passing by reference. So when we send PickDie 3, any changes made to PickDie down in the sub will affect PickDie 3. When we pass int points die 3, any changes made down in roll 1 die to int die value will also affect int points die 3. We've got enough now that we can at least see the images change of the dice. So let's run the program and roll the dice, and we'll see random images show up. The same sub, roll 1 die, is taking care of all of this. We send a picture box down by reference, and any changes made to the generic PickDie parameter we had also affect the picture boxes we sent. We can now also calculate the total points, because after roll 1 die has run for all 5 of the dice, well, we've got point values now for int points die 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We can sum those up and put them into the variable int total points and then display it in our label. And here we go. You'll notice that the point values of the dice will add up and be correct in the total points label. Everything looked good there. We'll put a breakpoint in so you can see a little bit of how this works. I tried setting int points die 1 equal to 0 so that maybe you would see that in the watch, but you'll notice it actually defaulted to the last point value that existed. But we'll put a breakpoint down here where the select case starts in the roll 1 die sub. If we click to roll the dice, we notice that int die value is 6. That's the random number that was generated in roll 1 die sub. That should take us to case else, which it does. We should see an image of that number 6. And you look down and notice that int points die 1 also now equals the value 6, because it was passed by reference. Any changes made to int die value when int points die 1 was sent down there should also affect that variable, and it did. When we pass by val or by value, subs and functions receive copies of the values. Any changes made do not affect the area from which they originated. But when we pass by reference or by ref, any changes made in a sub or a function do impact the place where the original function was called.